Making chopsticks in the shop is really quite easy and fun. And with the right tools, you can even make them with two different species of wood securely bonded together. I'm going to show you how. And it doesn't require a lot of expensive equipment, but it's an excellent chance to develop your skills using your block plane. If you're planning on making your chopsticks out of a single piece of wood, that's easy. Just prep your stock and rip it into 1/4 or 5/16 inch square strips. But we're going to get a little bit fancy making two-tone chopsticks using a finger joint bit. Finger joint bits allow you to glue stock together end to end with an incredibly strong joint. Once properly set up, both parts are cut on the same setup, and one piece is reversed so the fingers interlock properly and everything lines up. With our stock finger jointed and glued together, we can start making blanks. Ripping the proper size blanks from our stock is not that difficult, especially when using the gripper from Microjig. But the sequence of cuts is very important. The initial rips are made at about 3/8 of an inch thick to give us some room to work as we move forward. Now these two are close, but they're not quite right yet. We need to decide how we're going to align this joint with the two faces this way in order to get the proper look. Right now, the cherry on this side is very, very close to the top. Any sanding or anything I do, and that's going to spoil this clean line. But that's okay. I can recut that later, and I'm going to do it later. The sequence of cuts is important. We've got this side is nice. I don't want to try and shave it like this with the saw, because even using the gripper, that's a tricky cut. I'm not going to bother to try to do that. I'm going to slice it this way into the pieces that I need, the proper width, and then I can flip the part over and slice it again. It'll be square at that point, and that'll give me ultimate control, and I'll be able to divide this up. And I can divide it whichever way I want. I can have cherry and cherry on the outside with these two tongues of maple in the middle. I can do a maple and maple on the outside with one tongue of cherry in the middle. However I want to divide that out, I can kind of pick and choose that, but I don't want to try and reshave these again while they're standing on edge. We'll rip them to width first, and then we'll clean up that last cut. And once we get done, everything will be aligned the way we want. This one's pretty close to what I want, but now if I have to rip a matching piece off, I'm going to have to take this down right to that point there. So I think if I slice this end and make it nice and square, then I can come back, shave this off until it matches that, and then make a second cut. It's all in the sequence of the cutting. We're getting close here, but I got to come over just a little bit more, because again, I'm ripping this outside edge here until it matches this edge, then we'll reverse it and rip it out. A little bit more. That's perfect. And now I can flip them this way and rip them off the jointed bottom. And that way, it's safe to rip them like this because they're mostly square. So I've got nicely matched chopsticks here now, or at least the blanks. The blanks will be rough cut on the bandsaw following the marks that I'm laying out here. The tips are marked to taper down about 1/16 of an inch on each side. The actual taper lines are then laid out from these marks to a point marked just below the finger joint on the blank. We don't want to cut the taper through the finger joint that we just so carefully laid out in our ripping. The bandsaw is a quick and easy way to remove most of the waste to the outside of the lines. Just be careful not to cut too deep. The chopsticks will be tapered on all 4 faces, so you'll need to lay out a second set of lines and trim those back as well. Now, this is why every woodworker needs to have a good quality block plane. We just cut these on the bandsaw, and they're pretty rough, but that's okay. We're going to use the plane to smooth them out. You could certainly do this with a block sander, but the plane is going to work faster and is going to give you a very nice smooth finish. Now, this plane happens to be a Lie-Nielsen. It's a very good one, but it's also fairly expensive, but you don't have to go all the way to expensive. This one is a Stanley 102. It's an antique plane that I bought many, many years ago. It's a great little one-handed plane. It's adjusted by knocking the blades with a small hammer. But basically, I bought this for $5 at a yard sale many years ago, and it'll do the job very nearly as quickly and nicely as the Lie-Nielsen that I've got. A thin strip of masonite clamped to the bench acts as a stop to work against as I plane down the faces of the chopsticks. A good block plane will remove the material faster than sanding, but it's very controllable, so you won't take off too much. Cleaning up these tapers takes just a few minutes' work. Finally, break the edges and finish them with a little bit of mineral oil, and your chopsticks are ready for use. You can size your chopsticks to whatever you like. Shorter chopsticks of 8 to 9 inches are excellent for eating with, as eating utensils. But longer chopsticks, 12 to 14 inches, I actually like to use in the kitchen for cooking. They make flipping bacon really easy, and it keeps your hands well away from any grease or spatter.